Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tips and Tricks with Cory and James for the Paladins, where we're going to go over what gear to get your warriors.
Tons of choices to start with, and we've got an extra 7 gold with the warriors that we decided to start with. So we've got a lot of options. The one that everybody forgets about is let's get our monk equipped, at least basically, right away. Let's get him a spell, and let's get him spell components so he can cast a spell.
Something that I myself was not aware of, and I think that a lot of people fall into this problem, is that they don't realize that you have to roll for your first spell.
That is true.
Everyone I've talked to is under the impression that you get your first spell for free.
With the publication of War Mage Diary, it's all spelled out in that first chapter that nobody reads. You have to declare what spell you're going to go for. You have to roll a high enough roll to beat the magnitude of the spell you're trying for. So in our case, we're going for a first magnitude spell. And that means we're going to need to roll a 2 or higher. And if we fail, if we roll a 1, we don't get to start with a spell.
We're going to go off the assumption that we succeeded on our roll. So what do you like to get as a first spell, Cory?
The ones that I would key towards would be Blessing, Holy Word, and Sanctify. But beyond that, I can't say one's better than the other for Paladins. They're all great.
I think I like. I think I'll agree very heavily with Blessing and Sanctify. Blessing, just because honestly, having a reroll is hard to beat. You do everything for rerolls in Witchborn, so having a spell that you give 4 buddies, a reroll once is great. So we're gonna assume that we succeeded. Gonna add Blessing. We don't believe in buying armor to start. Both of us in the past have gone on about we only give people armor if they've actually done something. But the Paladins have a fantastic choice in place of armor in the form of wards.
And wards are great because if you think about it, an average game of Enter Perdition is only about 6 to 8 rounds. And the chances of you getting hit are slim. And so if you're spending money on the 2 gold piece buckskin, you're kind of wasting money at this point. Buckskin doesn't protect that much. It's making you a 7 defense, and an average roll is about going to get through or just miss, So what you really need is that ward, which is kind of a little holy symbol, and it allows your warrior to be hit once in the game, and that counts as a 0 on the damage sheet. So it is truly, even though it's expendable, go ahead and spend 8 gold on wards. And if you're going to buy armor because you spent a lot of money on your rangers, start them at least with leathers. Don't waste your time on buckskins.
From a purely economical point of view, leathers just make more sense anyway, because ultimately, if you spend the 2 gold on the leather, and then or the buckskin, and then you sell the buckskin so you can buy leather, you're spending 6 gold total on gear. Because you spent 2 gold on the buckskin, you sell it for 1 gold, and then you're spending 4 new gold on the leather. I'd rather just spend 5 gold on the leather to start. You're going to want to save as much money as you can. And honestly, that goes for every war clan. It's not just for them. Don't bother with the 2 gold armor.
It's just fool's gold, really. It doesn't really protect you, and it just eats away at your most important resource. You really, need gold in this game more than anything, and it's probably the hardest resource to get.
For me personally, I like to have one ranger that's melee and one ranger that's ranged. Putting your melee ranger on a horse, giving them a lance, they'll be an absolute nightmare for anyone to deal with.
As well as with their scout skill, making, having a far-ranging way to make discoveries from a distance is never a bad thing.
And with your gate of 10, it's almost too good to pass up. Our damage with the lance is +6 and +4. If you picked up that buckskin, you'd only have a 7 defense, which means that anything but a 1 would get through with this lance.
And you're hoping that your opposing players are falling for that and not thinking it through. At that point, they'd be better off with better weapons than they.
Yep.
Maybe they go missile weapons instead of armor to start.
So, Cory and I talked about in the last video, you really only want 2 horses to start. Cory and I have kind of agreed that your melee ranger should have one, and then slap the other one on an archer. And for the one for the archer, you don't need anything special. You can just get the courser. Yes, it has coward, but you don't really care because you're an archer and you want to not be in the middle of melee anyway. You can use one of your 2 plainsmen to train them up to a charger after your first game, and call it a day.
I was just going to say, and that's truly one of the cool things about Paladins, is they have the most post-game things that they can do. Between your plainsmen, and then eventually you'll get a tanner, and you'll get a relic hunter, and you'll have your mage, and you'll have all these different characters. You'll probably get a blacksmith. You're going to have your hands full. I mean, even your rangers are looking for provisions after the game with their tracker skills. So spread it out, and anything that you can get for free rather than paying for, that's one of the big keys to playing a paladin.
Now, between our horses and I threw it's worth the expenditure to get the plains shortbow, I think, for that first archer who's on the horse, because they'll get both of their attacks on a charge, and at this level they're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. They're only going to be at +3. They don't have any damage feats or any special ammo or anything like that. So it's worthwhile getting it now so that you don't have to upgrade them to it later.
Now you've got one guy who's going to be superior at missile combat because he's got first strike, and you don't realize how important that is to be able to go before everybody else, take 2 shots rather than just 1 from horseback successfully. And then you've also got your melee guy with your ranger and his lance. You've got 2 very powerful attacks.
We do only have 11 gold left.
Ouch.
Yep. So
there's never enough.
Yep. We have so our Ordermaster, our ranged ranger, our other archer, and our 2 plainsmen don't have anything, which I think should be getting melee Morning Stars prefer, I think, personally, because they're 1 gold. They're a +1 to injury. They're a +3 to damage because of your strength. I think that they're worthwhile.
Yeah, they're pretty good. They're going to serve you well for the first few adventures until you can get a better weapon. And then you can always shift the Morning Star into your 3rd gear slot as a backup weapon in case you first one gets broken or lost or, decommissioned somehow. And it's nice to always have a backup. You're never going to throw the Morning Star away.
And make sure that we get everyone reward. So our ranged ranger is just going to have Morningstar right now. We may remove it so that we can get them an actual ranged weapon, depending on whether or not we have the gold for it. Just going to get this archer award. He's going to be punching things unless we give him a bow of some kind.
You may want to get your lassos for your planes.
That's what I was about to suggest. Actually, is I think it's more worthwhile to spend our last 2 gold on making sure our plainsmen have lassos, so that they can do the training for the horses.
It's an aftermath thing, but lassos work in melee too. You can tie up a foe, restrain a foe, I should say, is a better word, and let your archer go to town on him.
Or your ranger, who's on horseback and is just gonna, hit and trample.
Yep, which is never a bad thing.
We, I think, are at exactly 125 points. So thank you everyone so much for joining us for part 2 of Witchborn Tips and Tricks for the Paladins. We hope to see you guys next week for the Dwarves.
That should be a fun one. A lot of things to do with them too.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody.